weird to anybody that they said Robert spoke French, but they were also in Canada? And like that was a highlight of his persona?
Well, he could be from Quebec, so...
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, let's start this countdown. Does Mike need to update that video yet?
I think so.
Okay.
Some of those movies in there, I'm like, oh, I forgot we did a movie club on those when they came to Disney Plus.
Speaking of movie club, hi everybody, welcome to Laughing Place Movie Club as we take a look at the latest Pixar Animation Studios film, Turning Red, the 25th film, feature-length film from Pixar Animation Studios, their silver anniversary film, but not on the silver screen.
Except at the El Capitan and select territories and countries.
For Oscar qualifications. Yes. Currently available to everybody who subscribes to Disney Plus. So we've all seen it, right? Nobody here has not seen it.
Yep. Okay, I just finished my second watch through.
You've only done 2? I feel like
I've only done 2.
I've only done 2.
I think I'm at 4 or 5 already.
Time constraint reasons. I love the film, but for time constraint reasons, I've only seen it twice.
So, Alex, you said you love the film. Becca, what do you think?
Oh, this was so fun. It was so accurate. I feel I was watching this movie and I'm like, wow, I love it.
We're aging ourselves probably, but did we? I grew up in this era. I was around 13. I think I'm just a few years older than Mei.
Yeah,
my 13th year was like 98, 99.
Is that when you turned into a mermaid?
That's when I turned into a merman.
Okay. Oh,
sorry. A merboy. My fin's in the closet.
Only because you said your 13th year. So
yeah. No, I
one
got
of the few decoms I know. Yes.
Oh, it's a great one. It was one of my favorites because I've always loved mermaids since 1989.
No, I love Turning Red too. People ask what I think of it, and I've been describing it as Pixar swing and a hit as their John Hughes style teen comedy. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah. I hadn't thought about the John Hughes collection or connection. But yeah, I would say that's accurate in the tone of the humor. And yeah, I loved it. And yes, it's tonally quite different, visually quite different for Pixar, which I thought was refreshing. And that's not to say that Pixar has ever necessarily played it safe or has a specific style, but there is a Pixar-esque quality to all their films in the same that there's a Disney-esque quality to most of the Walt Disney Animation Studios films. And this is one where I feel like this and Good Dinosaur, where I feel like the character designs on a shelf next to like Buzz and Woody don't necessarily jive.
Yes.
But in this case, I love it.
Real quick, we did get ahead of ourselves. I'm Tony, laughingplace.com. I guess I don't really know what my official title is. It changes every day. But I'm one of the more focused animation guys here with the lifelong obsession with Pixar Animation Studios. Right next to me is Alex, who reviews all of our movies, including those from Pixar. And right beneath me is Becca, and she is the site manager at laughingplace.com. And we all are from that 2002 era. I was a senior in high school. Alex celebrated becoming a merboy. And Becca, how about you?
Yeah, I think I was a sophomore too, either freshman or sophomore. So, yeah, same.
Yeah,
and trying to hide my merboy component at school. Didn't want to out myself.
I know Mei was going into. Was she just starting middle school, or was she in 8th grade?
She was in 8th grade.
Okay,
yeah, she was at the end of middle school. That 13 to 14.
Yeah,
about to go to high school.
I get confused because I was watching a panel with Domi, the director, and several others, and a lot of like the little specific stories, like the mom hiding behind the tree, that started on her first day of middle school. That's a true thing that happened according to her. maybe not with the product she had in her hand, but she definitely was lurking behind a tree to make sure she was okay.
Yeah.
But yes, we are live. We have questions, and feel free to ask them and answer them. Kyle wants to point out that it's not 8th grade; it's grade 8.
I'm not sure of the difference, but thank you.
Well, I think it's a Canadian thing.
Is that a Canadian thing?
Okay.
So
I wouldn't know.
Charles says, "Don't you think Mei Lin's transformation into the panda reminds you of Bruce Banner's transformation into the Incredible Hulk?"
Yes, much more graceful.
Yes, she poofs. She poofs rather than hulks.
Yeah.
There is some smashing. Also, there's one of the things, animation quality-wise, that I love about the transition in computer animation. I'm probably jumping the shark, Tony, on whatever notes you had or organization. But when she does her poof, in computer animation, it's hard to do these things. Like Raya and the Last Dragon just cheated and always hid it in smoke when Sisu went from human to dragon. It's one of my,
I like that you say cheated. Somebody animated the smoke. Anyway.
Okay, yes. Somebody did animate the smoke. But like they would do it in shadow. You know, in hand-drawn animation, like I'm gonna get so nerdy. Walt's favorite piece of animation was Cinderella's dress treasure. You know, that whole thing. You could do it in hand drawn quite easily. In CG, it's a whole separate rig. It's like 2 separate characters, like 2 separate clay models, and you have to fudge between the 2 of them. And I think they do the transformation for Mei Lin so well. And one of my favorite things is like this little like pink cloud of like dust of like glitter that just dissipates afterwards. It really is like that Disney dust that was from like Cinderella and Peter Pan in a Pixar way. And as a Sailor Moon fan and a Magical Girl anime fan, I love the callbacks to all of that.
We'll jump to that point. One of the heavy influences of that movie is Sailor Moon and anime, right down to every character having their own color scheme.
Yeah.
She even said Sailor Moon and Power Rangers. And I was like, oh my god, it's Power Rangers. What do you guys think?
I also had a Power Ranger shirt that would have been fitting for today.
I just wore my upcoming
your Lightyear
Pixar
shirt.
film, my Lightyear shirt, even though that's the toy version.
And to me, Sailor Moon very much defines that late 90s. I mean, it came out a little bit delayed in the US, but I got super into it around like 96, 97. Would like tape it because it was in local syndication and it was on while I was at middle school. And so I would like set my VCR to record it and then come home and watch that episode. And then I got like probably my transition into like the internet was this website that would tell you the differences between what was Sailor Moon in Japan and what they changed for America. And it had like information on the seasons that hadn't yet been dubbed here. And so I remember reading like, oh, these 2 characters are a lesbian couple in Japan, and here they're cousins, and like, you know, and that's why they hold hands and cuddle, you know, because they're cousins.
They're family. They know each other.
That's just what cousins do.
Right.
You know, like little, like I just have all these fun memories of that era. And then MIDI music. That was one thing they didn't do here.
Oh.
But like, if this was truly accurate to 2002, she would have been on like a 4Town GeoCities fan page with like MIDI versions of all their songs while she's doing her homework.
Well, I was going to bring up the score too. The score, you could almost hear MIDI music in it.
Yeah, they
almost,
definitely captured. They captured kind of the pop music aesthetic of the era in there. That what was it? NSYNC coined the phrase "dirty pop." It was like a transition from like the synthesized '80s pop to like a little more techno, but not quite. Still quite innocent and sweet. Dirty pop.
Well, getting into accuracy of that era, we all were part of that era. The one thing that drove me nuts about this movie, it's actually my one real serious complaint about Turning Red, is the vernacular. I don't recall in 2002 OMG being as prevalent as it is in this movie, or the term ride or die.
Right.
Yeah. OMG was definitely not on like stickers and notebooks. Yes, totally was still a big one, like totally carrying over from the 90s. I feel like in this time that late 90s, early 2000s, Was Up was huge. but I also feel like we were still very much idolizing Clueless and Valley Girl talk.
Yeah, I can see
and,
that.
Yep.
And so a lot of those like Sharon Dion isms were very much in, at least where I grew up, in the lexicon of teen speak.
Yeah, and I feel like for me it was more cool or variations of cool, like way
Yeah.
cool, so cool,
Way
totally cool.
Yeah, Sabrina the Teenage Witch definitely had a huge impact. Or I'm sorry, I'm thinking Clarissa Explains It All.
Yeah.
Hey, cool.
She made the
Na,
Domi
na,
the director made the director watch every season of Clarissa. Apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, when it was totally okay for a boy to have a ladder up into your teenage daughter's bedroom.
Right.
It was Sam. He was the neighbor. He's your best friend.
But I do remember an episode where like there was a will they won't they, like Sam and Clarissa were like, "Oh, do I have feelings for you?" In the end of the episode, they did not, but I remember that distinctly.
I'm going to get off topic, but in the available on Hulu, so not completely off topic, the Orange Years, the Nickelodeon documentary,
Very good.
Melissa Joan Hart talks about how there was a book written, and then she has her own input about what Clarissa would be doing today. And she's like, I probably dated Sam for a little while. It didn't work. It was a high school boy, so, you know.
Yeah. I love it. But yeah, cool was huge. Instead of OMG, we just said, "Oh my God," like it was one word.
Yeah.
Like no
spaces.
Pauses. Oh my God. You know, in the Valley Girl accent. Oh my God.
Yes. Definitely had days where I would do the Valley Girl thing, and my mom would stop.
Well, basically anything I say now out of an honest reactionary phrase is still from 1998. So
it's just stuck with you.
Yep.
Your formative years, your orange years.
Yes. Not the green vegetable years, the orange years. So going back to that like phase of life though, Becca, you have one thing on Alex and I that we don't have. You were once a 13-year-old girl like Mei.
Shocker, right?
Right. How would you find it? Like, was this movie super relatable because of that?
I mean, there were elements of it that were. My mom, while she definitely embarrassed me, would never have. If she was watching me, I would not have seen her, and she never would have been like, "Hey, you forgot this," or announce anything like that to the world. But yeah, like you know, you find your support from your friends because you were all going through the exact same thing. And the frustrations and the joy and how you could go from emotion to emotion so quickly, like yes, that was, I mean, absolutely.
Everything Tony says is from 1998. That's why he's always yelling "closing time."
I love that.
I wouldn't say yelling, but I have been known to just say, "Finish your whiskey or beer and get out. It's closing time."
Don't they do a flash mob in Friends with Benefits to that song?
Maybe. I don't think I've seen that movie.
Really?
I get that one mixed with the other one. No Strings Attached. Yeah, which have the exact same description on IMDb.
They're the same movie.
Now the friend group though in Turning Red, would you say that was accurate to a group of 13-year-old girls?
Yeah, at least for me. I mean, I was homeschooled, but I was part of a homeschool support group. There were kids in the neighborhood, and then we had a big youth group at our church. So I was always around other girls my age for sure. And there were I had several friends. Like there would be a group of 3 or 4 of us, and it would always kind of shift. Like you know, as the years went on, whatever, your friend group would change a little bit. But I'd be part of like a group of girls. Yeah, you'd call each other, or we'd send each other notes or something. You know.
Nice. I figured they were more supportive in Turning Red than they would be naturally. Is that a fair assessment? Or
I don't know. I felt like at least my friends, I feel like we were all pretty supportive of each other. But again, I wasn't with everybody all day, every day. So I don't really recall any like huge betrayals or somebody, you know, at least not for me.
No throwing under the bus when it came to sneaking into a concert or anything?
Like I I would
Did
never
you grow
have.
up in a town where sneaking into a concert would have even been a possibility?
I mean, you would have had to get to Cleveland. I was about half an hour south of Cleveland, so that was no. That like maybe into movie. There's a movie theater. Yes, we had a 16 screen Regal Cinema. So yeah, sneaking into a movie.
16.
But I never would have been able to. I personally would never have been able to get out of the house enough to go do something like that. Or if I was at a friend's house and they wanted to watch a movie we weren't supposed to, like I would have been up in the friend's room while everybody else did their thing because I always felt so guilty. So, but that's just me personally. So, yeah.
I did sneak into basements to watch like things I shouldn't have watched, but also growing up in like a small Midwestern town or small-ish, getting to the concert would have been an insurmountable feat that I wouldn't have been able. Like we didn't have public transport, and obviously at 13 you couldn't drive. So if you didn't have a parent willing to take you to the Millennium Tour by Backstreet Boys,
right,
which I didn't go to. I really identified with the bully character in that moment because I was at the Millennium Tour in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But I was terrified that someone from school would see me there. There was one other girl from my school who was definitely at that concert, and I just kept like I remember praying like, please don't let me see her. Please don't let me see her.
But would she have been as welcoming as Mei and her friends?
No, she would have come to school. It was a small little Catholic school. I was one of 10 kids. It was 5 boys, 5 girls.
Oh wow.
I was definitely the only one in the framework of LGBTQ and of the boys at least. I don't know about the girls. And I would have been outed and ridiculed. Every other boy was like hardcore WWE sports, and I was the outlier, and I was like, no, Pokemon cards. That's my jam. And no, I would have been mortified, and I would so relating to May's obsession with Four Town, I can relate in Britney Spears' obsession. Just loved everything about her, and so all the girls would have like Teen Beat and Bop and all those magazines, and so I would be like, oh, if you don't want the Britney picture, can you tear that out and give it to me? And so the room that I grew up in, my older brother had moved out of it, and my younger sibling moved in with me. Yes, and that is like the cover of a Teen Beat. So it took me right back. And the wallpaper in the room was baseball, which is as un-Alex as it gets. And so I re-wallpapered my room with Britney Spears images and occasionally Spice Girls out of those magazines. And like the holy grail image for me was Britney Spears backstage at some award show with 98 Degrees. She was between the foursome of 98 Degrees. And they all, except for the old one, were shirtless, but with these like weird like harnesses on that like didn't cover anything. But that was like my favorite picture. Anywho, I've just spilled a lot of tea. But I really related with May's secret obsession with Four Town. Even her sneaking under the bed to draw things. You know, it's a little edgy for Pixar, I will say, but it was accurate to 13-year-old me, who on a Disney World vacation at Mitsukoshi store in Epcot found a like how to draw anime characters book and flipped through it. And I'm not a good drawer at all, but I flipped through it and like it was like anatomy of humans in anime form.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is hot. And closed it and didn't tell my parents what was in there, but I was like, I really want to learn to draw like Sailor Moon characters. And getting that book purchased for me by a parent, and then I wouldn't like sneak under my bed, but I would, you know, review it in private. It was I was having those feelings like May was when she was drawing her merboys, of which I was one.
Did you ever draw them?
Did you ever do stuff like that?
I would try. Yeah.
I don't know.
I was not good. My mom would not have been able to see my drawing and relate it to, oh, this is somebody you know in your life. I'm sorry for the dog squeaking. She's found the one toy with an active squeaker.
If I had Britney Spears pictures, they were for the under the bed.
Back
in that
no,
time.
mine were just up and out, and the worst was I had a tapestry that was definitely photoshopped. Like I bought it at the mall, and it was at like an Asian, like mostly anime store, but this was like a scroll, like a fabric scroll of Britney. And she was like in a truck, in a tank top, and like definitely Photoshop enhanced to be bigger than she really was. And so it looked really bad. Like if boys would come over, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's what I look at net," you know. But in reality, I was just like,
please tell me you did it with that voice too.
yeah, I got
Okay.
real, I was, you know, really passing.
I
And
like this one.
this is my favorite one right here. But you know,
Britney
it was
Spears and
just
French fried taters.
funny haha or funny queer. But I just like I just loved her, and so it was like, you know, it covered up a lot of space on the wall,
Yeah.
just like May's 4-Town posters.
Single-handedly, like the one scene that made me cringe in the entire movie in a relatable way was when they had the drawings, when Ming had the drawings and goes down to the Daisy Mart and she goes, how do you explain this? And like whips them out, and they did it in slow motion and everything. And I felt every like when I was hiding things and they came out when I was younger, that every like flashback like right into my head, and then just slams on the counter, and I was like, oh my god, that's the worst. And then Tyler was there. The friend was there.
Right.
Or not friend at that point. Spoiler. Sorry. But yeah, when he shows up at the 4-Town concert and they spot him and they were just so welcoming of him, I was like, that's really cool, but horribly unrealistic.
So exactly. I would have absolutely died. Like I would have been murdered at school, like coming back and having somebody find out like, oh, Alex was at the Backstreet Boys Millennium Tour concert, which I will say the 4-Town concert at the end, them on strings as angels, was not unlike the Backstreet Boys entrance, which it was like a stage in the round, like it was an arena tour, and they were in the center, and they flew in from the wings with like little hoverboards attached to their feet, like they were like Marty McFly or something. So like I remember like they came in singing Backstreet's Back All Right, like on wires, and it's just it made me laugh so hard when, you know, the panda fight is happening. It's very Gojira, and like they knock them around on their wires, and they're just like, oh. Also, then it became very NSYNC, which I did not sing. I'd never seen NSYNC in concert, so I was not at the No Strings Attached tour. But I have friends who were, and I remember them showing the program.
I'm just impressed like, you remember all the tour names. I don't remember them at all.
I had all the albums. I wasn't not a fan. I just was more of a Backstreet Boys guy than an NSYNC guy. But yeah, like the No Strings Attached tour started with them like dropping from the ceiling like marionette puppets, like in the music video of Bye Bye Bye. Bye.
When Mingzilla attacks in Turning Red, and she slams into the rigging for them. Yeah, and they're just dangling there. I was cracking up so hard because I just thought it was just so like, because you know their whole like tough guy persona is out the window. Yeah, and like, oh, help us! And it made me think of actually stupidly Muppets Most Wanted, when Constantine gets stage fright, he just passes out in the O of the Muppet Show banner, and it's realistically just a puppet with no hand in him. It's just laying there, and I was just thinking of that, just like the same idea, like they're just dangling there. But I go back to somebody animated the panic and the fray. They weren't just like left on some rig.
Right.
That was great.
But yeah, Mingzilla, that whole climax, I got a text after one of my best friends watched it, and he's obsessed with boy bands also. He told me, and I quote, if I could have majored in boy bands, I would have. That's what he told me. And he sent me a text immediately after finishing Turning Red and said, see, told you boy bands would save the world. I was like, they saved Toronto.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
They saved Toronto.
From Mingzilla.
And they didn't save the stadium, which I understand is no longer there.
So I was doing like some Easter egg research for an article we have on laughingplace.com. Easter eggs, Turning Red. Check it out.
Our number one article right now, I believe.
I think it is, actually. Yes. Yeah. So thank you, everybody.
Great job.
I could have done a whole separate one that is just nods to Canada in it, because I guess in the Daisy Mart there's bagged milk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
my school had that.
Oh. Ooh. I don't like seeing milk for some reason, and I just whatever. The Sky Dome is what it was called circa 2002, and I guess it has a new name now. So a lot of people just liked, oh, it's the Sky Dome. They're performing at the Sky Dome. I thought that whole part was going to be revealed to be a dream. I'm assuming you mean the climax and the
I think he
stadium.
messaged that when we were talking about Ming bringing the photos to the Daisy Mart, the drawing.
Oh, okay.
That Mei Lin did.
Okay.
I thought that was when his comment popped up. I've been watching.
That would explain this one, and now Alex harbors deep resentment of Justin Timberlake.
You did Britney wrong, JT.
That's a whole other stream conversation.
Now she's free, and that $15 million book's coming.
My friend in Canada was upset that they pronounced the second T in Toronto Americanized.
No, Kyle, you were upset that they pronounced the second T. Which one?
Is it just Toronto? Oh, I
Toronto.
hear it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Who texted you? We'll talk later.
Shams, lies.
An anecdotal text.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned boy bands and everything like that. Let's segue into the new boy band on the streets, or the back streets, as it were. Four Town. Jordan Fisher, never a Disney job he'll turn down.
He's I call him Disney's Jordan Fisher. Other than his Broadway stint on Hamilton and the Fox Entertainment version of Rent Live, I believe all of his credits are
Disney. Basically are both Disney now at this point anyway.
Which I believe we got the Fox Live library of content.
Rent is
20th television.
Disney. Hilarious.
But yeah,
why we just call him future Disney legend, right? Because we know that's coming.
I mean, when you
that would be his true
show,
happily ever after. Yes.
Yeah.
Who does he think he is? Celine Dion.
Celine Dion.
But yes, Four Town. Sit down and Kanto. Why is nobody talking about the soundtrack to this movie?
I feel like they are. I feel like it's just we are still hung up on not talking about Bruno. That it's not. It hasn't had enough space to have its moment. Because even though Encanto came out in November, it really didn't trend until January.
That's true.
And we're only in March.
Yeah.
I think Disney should not repeat the mistake they made in '95 with a Goofy movie where they didn't do a Powerline tie-in album, like a fully fleshed out, like 10-track, no skips, all bops Powerline album. I feel like we need that with Four Town. Like they have the songs from the film now, and they should flesh that out with another like 8 tracks.
There is a vinyl coming, but it is just the songs from the movie.
Just the Four Town songs.
But my same friend who sent me that message, Boy Bands Can Save the World, also said, I need a full 32-track album of Four Town.
32 is a bit much. I mean, that would be like all the European single B-sides. You'd have to be like going to Best Buy and collecting all those little jewel cases.
From their Germany tour.
The little slim cases. I would do that with Britney. I would every time a single came out, I would like go to Best Buy and check the import section and get the little slim jewel case, because I'd see on the back, like, this has a song that's not on the album.
Right.
It's a B-side. And I had to have them all, like Pokemon.
Well, yeah.
I'm just picturing little cards with different Britney Spears songs on it, and like the different like screen grabs from the videos.
Oh,
gotta catch them all. Oh,
another 2002-ism that I wish had been referenced in this. They had the Tamagotchis, but do you guys remember hit clips?
Yes.
No.
The dumbest thing in the world, but they were essential. It was a little like microchip, and there was like a teeny tiny little player. I even had like a 6-hit clip changer, like a little revolver, where you could, and it would play just 30 seconds. 30 seconds of a song. And there were some that were exclusive to McDonald's, kind of like there was the golden Gigapets at McDonald's. I don't know if you remember that. You could get the golden dog or the golden cat.
I don't remember those.
You had to buy them. They weren't in your Happy Meal. You had to pay extra money only at McDonald's. So it was the same way with the hit clips. And there was also a VHS tape. It was NSYNC and Britney Spears. And it was their international music videos, before the internet streaming was a thing. So there were songs that they had released as singles in Europe that they had not put even on the albums here. And so there were music videos with them. So that VHS tape had that. And I remember like holding my Talk Boy up to record the song so that I could have it on cassette and listen to it off VHS, off VCR, with my headphones.
I just like that you
Yeah,
had a
all these.
talk boy too.
Yeah. Oh, my talk boy like never quit. That thing still works, I'm sure. It was well made. Tommy, Japanese company, of course. Well,
Kyle says he feels like Billie Eilish and Phineas may be a bit busy.
well, and I will
Oh,
say they don't
okay.
necessarily have to use them, and I would love it. I would like die if they went to the songwriters who wrote all those hits in the era. Like if Max Martin, Diane Warren, like if they pulled out all these hit makers of the aughts to write new Four Town songs, I would lose my mind.
Yeah. I'd be
Now
down for that
that's
too.
what I call music.
Yes, volume.
What number are they on now?
Volume 4 Town.
Yeah.
That would be so fun. Yeah. I would.
Breaking news: we figured out who Kyle's friend was. Cara Lynn told me that.
Oh, okay.
Cara Lynn, that sounds like a Southern name. It's even hyphenated.
I think she might be from Toronto or Toronto.
Yes.
And it's the Rogers Center now. Thank you, Kyle.
Yes. And also, I would like to take this. Yes, he can write us any great song with lyrics that make no sense, such as alluding to a potentially abusive phrase that he doesn't understand in English, like "hit me."
Oh yeah.
He thought it meant call me back, but nobody was saying that. Hit me.
I always interpret it as like contact me, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it was, but like a lot of
hit
people,
me up. There's some more 98, 2002.
Right. A lot of people thought she was saying like abuse me one more time. Like it was controversial.
I never took it as that, but I thought it was a weird way, like a weird thing to say. Like I would never.
Yeah. No one was like, hit me one more time. That wasn't a thing we were saying.
Yeah.
Neither was email my heart, but like she was at the dawning of email.
Email my heart.
I always was told to call me, beat me if you want to reach me.
Now, well, actually,
and that was later on too. Never
mind. When the Kim Possible World Showcase Adventure came out, I thought they should have updated it to text me, tweet me if you want to reach me. But now that's outdated. Now it's like TikTok me, DM me, slide into my DMs if you want to reach me.
Slip into my DMs if you want to reach me. Instagram.
I know, I can't keep up. It's so shameful. I feel so old.
Like and subscribe if you want to reach me. Ring the bell.
Speaking of,
support my Patreon.
Yeah. Get the top tier Patreon if you want to reach me.
Yeah. And then you'll get a shout out. Exactly.
You'll get to hear the next episode of LP Movie Club a week before everyone else.
I still say we should do Patreon for what happens after the live ends.
Oh.
And then, like, because a lot of times we'll just sit there chatting for a minute.
The after party.
We kind of talked about the animation style and its influence on Turning Red. How much anime did you guys see in this movie?
I will say, I mean, I haven't seen a ton of anime, but the anime that I love, I feel like made its way here. I'm a huge Sailor Moon fan. I have the Art of Turning Red book here, and I've been waiting to talk about this. I have it open to this page. It's like concept art of Mei Lin's room. There is a Sailor Moon doll on the desk. There are Sanrio characters. In this other page, you've got Bulbasaur and Pikachu in the upper right. Pokemon was a jam of mine. And then even we talked about like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and Boys to Men's influence on 4Town. And the posters in this early version, this must not have cleared legal, is Boys with a Z on streets or in streets. So like NSYNC, Backstreet, Boys to Men, like all in one.
Can you show the front page again? Because I didn't have you on a solo layout at that point.
Oh yeah. So there's that. The other thing I love, and this is on the cover, is like one of the hallmarks of a Sailor Moon background is what do they call these? Like little solar flares? Or bokeh effects, but they're always like rainbow effects. And they have those all over the movie, which it just made me come alive because I love it. And you'll see it in some of the concept art. There was one that like didn't even necessarily feel like it should have had it. And it was so funny. Here we go. It's like a memory of Mei Lin and her mom doing karaoke, and then there's those little colorful bubble bokeh effects, which are straight out of Sailor Moon. A lot of Studio Ghibli isms. I feel like the panda design was very much from like the Totoro film school of character design. which is part of why I think the film, doesn't necessarily look Pixar, but it very much looks in line with like if Studio Ghibli made a computer animated film. I think they captured the aesthetic of that really well. What else was there? Pokemon. I mean, the whole chunky cute style is just very Japanese kawaii. And I loved it, and very much reminded me of like Sanrio world. I haven't been to the Sanrio theme park in Tokyo. It's on my list of want to visit places in the world. But it really reminded me of that at times.
The eyes were what did it for me. Every time they love something, they become glassy, and there's like stars and
not only do the eyes become
hearts.
big, but the reflections in them are not little circles. They are hearts, stars, and crescent moons. And like
I'll have to look again. I looked for moons.
Yeah,
I did see the hearts and the stars though.
It's missing a few Lucky Charms, but no, I loved it. It was great.
And then on the inverse, when they're scared or mad, they and become very pinpoint.
Yeah,
very pinpoint.
In that respect, the animation sometimes reminded me of the Peanuts movie from Blue Sky Studios, because they did a really great job, in my opinion, of translating the hand-drawn Peanuts comic style to computer animation. And this does a really good job of translating kind of the general anime style of magical girl anime and Studio Ghibli into a CG style. Better than Mary and the Witch's Flower, I think was the name of, or no, what was the Hedwig the Angry Witch or whatever. The CG.
I only know Hedwig as an owl that delivers post.
There's Hedwig as an owl. There's Hedwig as a transgender performer with a botched body part. And then there's this Studio Ghibli computer animated film, which is on HBO Max, and it's Hedwig, and she's a little like witch in training, but not Kiki. I don't love this movie. It's not Kiki's Delivery Service, which is my favorite Studio Ghibli film ever. And but yeah, it does a better translation of Studio Ghibli style to computer animation than that Hedwig Studio Ghibli movie. The real title of which is escaping me. Did Tony freeze?
It looks like Tony froze.
It does look like. Oh, there we go. You said you froze for a little bit, and you came back in on Spirited Away.
Yeah, I was saying because I heard you say Kiki's Delivery Service is your favorite. And I said not Spirited Away because everybody loves Spirited Away.
Spirited Away is great. Kiki. So I had seen, in order of like the ones I had been exposed to, I'd seen the Totoro that 20th Century Fox did the dub for, and then Disney did the dub for Kiki in like 97 or 98. And I remember getting that VHS and like just going gaga for the whole movie, everything about it. And like with Sailor Moon and finding a website, I found a GeoCities fan page. Actually, I think it's still around, ghibli.net. Someone type it in and see if it's still there. But ghibli.net would give you all of the information on all the movies that had not come out in the US yet. So I remember reading like the description of Grave of the Fireflies and being like, this is animated? And later seeing it. I own the whole Studio Ghibli film library except for that Hedwig movie. But like Grave of the Fireflies is just the saddest animated movie I've ever seen. If you ever want your heart ripped out.
That is one of my go-to titles, because I will always argue, and I have with Turning Red already too. There's this stigma with animation always, and I'm sure you two have seen it. 12 and under only. Animation is not for anybody else, unless you're watching Adult Swim, and then you're I'll just say it, drug-addled collegiate. And
when Benji and I went to see Ponyo at AMC 24 in Orlando, this woman in front of me, I forever associate this negative memory with seeing Ponyo, but I'm able to enjoy the film. But she looks at us, two men, and she's there with with a friend, and they're both their kids, and she's like, don't you think it's creepy when grown men come to see animated movies? And like, in her defense, Ponyo is one of the most kid-friendly of Studio Ghibli films, but many of those films are not, at least by a Western standard, Westernized standard. And so, I was just kind of like, what a bee. I hate her. Anyway, I don't know her.
But Grave of the Fireflies is definitely one that she should watch with her children then.
Here, you know what? Here's a good recommendation for what you guys should watch next if you liked Ponyo. Grave of the Fireflies. I love it.
Yeah, just
charming for kids.
And she's probably one of those people on the internet right now screaming, "How dare they show that feminine hygiene product in said film? Oh, this is absolutely ridiculous."
Although I will say, if we're segueing into that criticism, it seems to mostly be men that are having those issues, right? Or are you seeing women?
I'm seeing on my more personal circles. I'm seeing more.
I will say I have not.
I'll just say moms who aren't ready to talk to their daughters or children about that aspect yet, and now they have been thrown into it because we thought we were watching a kids movie.
But come on, like you have to know with the title of it, or do the slightest bit of research. Like
I would also,
let's put two and two together.
But then they stop at that point, which only lasts 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And then they think the rest of the movie is about that. It's not.
I have two things
it's just a 90-second thing. Go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I'm cutting you off, and I'm sorry for the dog. With a mother, and our bathroom had feminine products in it.
Yeah. Yes.
And that was just a normal thing my mom had. And so if I had seen this in a film at age, like, let's say 5 or 6, I don't feel like my inquisitive mind would have been asking, why is she bringing her poise pads? You know, like I would have recognized them. I would have known that they're for the Shuni, but I wouldn't have been like, why is she bringing those for her? Like, it wouldn't have questioned it. Also, I watched this for the first time when I did the review with kids aged, I want to say 10 and 7. The older one being a girl, and neither of them batted an eye at it. You know, in that moment, Mei has become a red panda and is hiding behind a shower curtain, and her mom is just freaking out. And at no point did they go, what are those things? In fact, the only thing they asked about was the hot water bottle. They were like, what's a hot water bottle? You know, like that was something they weren't familiar with. But unless you grew up without a motherly figure in your life, I feel like that moment is not going to register because you've seen those things, you know, from a very young age.
Yeah.
Like what little kid didn't accompany their mother to the bathroom at some point? Like I remember being out with my mom at like a restaurant. She'd be like, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm there alone with her. So me, the little 2-year-old boy or 3-year-old is, you know, in the stall with mommy, like standing in the corner twiddling your thumbs while she does her business. Like, it's a normal part of life. So I think it's really interesting. One of the things doing press for the film, in the junket that they had after the film was fully available and screened, was somebody asked about, you know, normalizing feminine puberty, and I hadn't thought about it as a guy, but it, you know, you're right. And I will say, like, as a guy, like at 12 or 11, when they first sat us down about health class and what's happening to your body, like I remember having like a grossed out reaction when I was told what girls go through, and it wasn't my body parts, but I remember for a while being like, ooh, it's gross, you know, you bleed. You know, and even like it brought back, I think it was a Jeff Foxworthy joke from like the Blue Collar Comedy Tour of like, anything that bleeds once a month and doesn't die is clearly the work of the devil, you know, something like that. But, you know, I mean, they're right. If this movie does something to normalize that and make it less like, why should it be taboo for this transition that every kid goes through, and you spend less time on the other side of puberty than you do, you know, post puberty. Like, why is it this big taboo thing? Like I remember as a boy, you know, my dad's very hairy. Like my dad's like a monkey man from like the neck down. So like swimming in the backyard pool, like I remember being like, Dad's back is full of hair and I have no hair underneath my ears, you know, and you know, understanding
and then one day
understanding the fact that someday thankfully I did not get all the back hair. I hope it doesn't come. I pray every day. But I remember being cognizant of that, and even being told like, eat your pizza crust, it'll put hair on your chest, and be like, I don't want that.
I was told that with bell peppers.
Yeah.
I avoided bell peppers like the plague because of it, but alas,
it happened for me too. But I don't know why. I don't know why parents.
Sorry,
said that.
Sorry, Becca.
and every last inch of me covered in hair. And like that was okay. That was okay in '92. Gaston flaunting his chest hair. So there's just a weird. I guess it's just part of this whole conversation about gender norms and how we do normalize things that boys go through and don't for women. And I think it's great that this film is here. And anyone who has a problem with it, should do a little soul searching.
I will say, yes, I saw people who have an issue with that 90 seconds of this movie, but more and more I see people praising that 90 seconds of this movie.
And I would argue that, I don't have kids, I have fur babies who are unruly, but were it that I had kids, especially if I had a girl, I would be so grateful for Turning Red as being a potential gateway into a healthy conversation about how normal that is. And, from other women I know who have talked about this, actually, I'm a huge Anne of Green Gables fan. I'm getting off Disney for a moment. And the Anne with an E Netflix version, in that first season, she's about 12 or 13, and they have this moment where she wakes up and has her first period and freaks out and thinks she's defective as a human and that they're going to get rid of her. These, adopted parents who wanted a boy and ended up with a girl, and she's there on a trial period. And I can only imagine in communities where parents are shy about telling their kids this. I don't know what your experience was, Becca, and I certainly don't expect you to share it because it's very personal. You can if you want to, but I can only imagine in like a homeschool scenario where you might not have had that health class where they sit you down and tell you, here's what's going to happen to your body and here's what your reproductive organs are for, and never do those things. Like I think I was 11 or 12 when they first had that class. And I had so many questions that were unanswered, and I had misconceptions about what girls' body parts were for. But I thought they peed out of their butts because I thought the place to make babies wouldn't be where pee comes from. Anyway, but
Patreon after hours.
Patreon after. I can just imagine being so grateful as a parent to have something like this to talk about, and also for boys growing up with this, having it be a little less gross when you find out about it. Because I will admit, my reaction to what a period was horror. Like why would God do this to people? And then I remember in sixth grade, we had the class, and very shortly after that, I'm not going to say her name in case she's watching, but a classmate had her first one, and I remember being near the lockers and hearing the girls talking about it and being like, oh,
right. Oh yeah.
So yeah. I've gone off on I've said a lot of things.
It's fine. I got stuck back. I heard everything you said. I respect everything you said.
A lot of
but I was stuck at Anne of Green Gables because I'm going to share a story really fast. It's also kind of related to Canada. At Epcot, you used to be able to take your passport and go around. And a friend of mine and I did that. And I will always associate Anne of Green Gables with that because I got Welcome to Canada, birthplace of ice hockey. And there's got signed, Welcome to Canada, home of Anna of Green Gables. I was like, is that the two things Canada is known for?
Prince Edward Island is also on my list, like the Sanrio Park. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily a bucket list of places but places I really want to visit. Prince Edward Island is up there for the Anne of Green Gables, Avonlea connection, and the little old lady that lives inside me and loves all that stuff.
Let's talk about Ming for a second.
Yes.
I think Ming is the strongest, not like physically or mentally or emotionally strong, but in terms of character development, the strongest character in this movie. What do you guys think?
I think I would agree with that. I think Mei is very admirable for her self-confidence and her ultimate bravery. Like, part of her conflict as a character is I'm a different person outside the home than I am at home, which I think is the inciting incident that really causes her to poof in the first place is having that moment where her outside personality, who she feels she really is, clashes with her mom in that moment where she finds the photos. But yeah, I think one of the strengths of the film is how developed Ming is, that it's not just a King Triton overbearing parent who says no because they give you her reasons behind it. And one of the strengths of the film is that multi-generational cyclical pattern that you probably can see in your own family, whether there's any connection to another culture or not. It's one of those things that I'm not a huge fan of Bao, because it's very much about these same themes, but I feel like Bao is very much an art house film. Like, it's the type of short you would see at Sundance, not necessarily the type of short you would see before a Pixar film. Sanjay's Super Team, on the other hand, I felt like handled that same topic really well.
I would flip that personally.
You would flip it, yeah. So I'm in the, like, I prefer of those two shorts that are both about kind of a generational gap of a first generation immigrant and a child born into a westernized culture or a different culture, and trying to find, you know, a commonality and a shared experience. I like Sanjay's Super Team a lot, and I felt like Turning Red just elevated that even further, especially with the whole what do they call it? The astral plane.
The astral plane.
Yeah.
The astral plane. And, you know, getting to that moment where she gets to meet, I hope whoever's watching this has seen Turning Red, because this is like a major spoiler. So turn it off if you haven't and go watch the film. Then come on back and watch the
Come on
replay.
back later.
Come on back now, you hear? But that moment where she meets her mother as a teenager and sees what she's going through with her mother, and you get to meet the grandma. And I just loved that generational component. I think we all feel that. Like, my, I guess on my mom's side, my grandpa was born in Poland, but immigrated to the US as a child. But, you know, my mom was raised in a pretty strict environment. And, you know, I think there are things that she maybe did as a kid and a teenager that she regretted doing. So they were like, for us. And so, but I think if you know, when she's more honest with me now as an adult, I'm like, oh, you did those things that you didn't want me to do, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
where it comes from, yes.
And that's where it comes from. And that's why you were so about it.
Becca, have you found your mom in a bamboo forest yet?
I've not, but I more often than not frustrated with mom as an adult, because, you know, I still feel like the child when anytime like I'm with my parents. It's like you revert right back to that child. But I do have a compassion and an appreciation for, like, she was the only girl, and in her family she had 4 brothers, so I'm sure that couldn't have been easy. And, like, just stories she's told me about my grandmother and how my grandmother's brother was like the favorite child, and so grandma wasn't the favorite child, and just like how you kind of carry that on even if you don't mean to. And so I think there's a lot that you know, my mom probably had so many more ambitions than than I realized. And so trying to find that compassion and understand that, like, she's just doing the best that she can. She did the best she could. And, you know, you go with the example that you have and you change what you want to change. But I thought that was a really great moment in the movie. That Mei could understand, like, oh yeah, my mom is also a human person who even though she's frustrating me now, there was a time where all she wanted to do was make her mom happy. And, or, you know, she tried so hard to be perfect and felt like she kept failing. So it was,
it's funny that you said almost that exact same scenario. I was watching a View panel for Turning Red recently, and Lindsay Collins, the producer, is one of only a few people who have children, let alone teenage children, who worked on the movie. And she kept like pleading with everybody, please make Ming likable. Like, she's not the oppressive mother. She's just trying her best. Please. Yeah. So the very fact that you said she's just trying her best, that's exactly what a mother on the crew was going. Like, make it known that she's trying to do what she can.
Yeah, I definitely felt like she wasn't the villain. Like, you as the,
you think she is at the beginning,
right? But understanding even from a teenager's perspective, like, of course, whatever your parents are telling you, no, you can't do, you're like, they don't understand me. They don't know what it's like. But yeah,
but they do. Now the most serious question of the day. I wanted to have art ready for this, but I don't have enough time. I will the next Pixar one we do. I'll
I'll scroll through the art book. Maybe I can find whatever you were talking
infographic
about.
ready. No, because I need to make it myself. It's the Bing Bomiter, the what level of which you cried in this film.
Sorry.
So my scale is from like Toy Story: A Bug's Life is 0 tear shed to Bing Bong, which is snot pouring, glazed over eyes, big sacks here under my eyes, so just like absolutely devastated. Most embarrassed. One of the most embarrassing experiences of my life was in that theater, sobbing over Bing Bong. Where would Turning Red land on your guys' scale?
I didn't actually cry, but I got glassy eyed when they went back to the astral plane the second time, and I think in the right mood, on the right day, I probably would have shed tears. But this was not a tearjerker for me.
Alex?
I would agree with that. I didn't shed a tear. It touched me emotionally. I really enjoyed it, and it's a film that I keep thinking about, so it has stayed with me. But I would argue that I'm a broken human being and often don't cry at things that I should.
Okay. Did Toy Story 3 get you?
Toy Story 3 got me hard.
Okay.
My God.
Then I wouldn't say you're broken.
No, that is high on my the part. Well, the two parts. The part where they're all prepared to die together in the trash incinerator gets me, and then silly because it's stuff. But like when Andy gets rid of the toys, I'm just like, no, you want to keep Woody. Like at least keep one. Like I remember, having to go through my bin of Power Rangers, or not Power Rangers. Those I kept all of. My Ninja Turtles. My mom made us downscale our Ninja Turtles. We had to get rid of the sewer playset. We were allowed to. We had like a metal.
I remember that one.
Yes, it was so cool. We had a metal popcorn bucket of Ninja Turtles, and we were allowed to fill that bucket, and that was the only action figures we could fit, because we had all 4 of them as like cowboys, as astronauts, so like I was into Raphael, so I was like, I just want to save all the Raphaels, but also all the movie ones, because they were like a weird rubbery texture, So there, like, I have memories of that, of like my mom being like, "We're clearing this stuff out. You're not playing with it anymore. We're having a rummage sale," and really identifying with that moment. And like, were I to do that now, like there would be like a Woody in my toy collection where I'd be like, I'm never getting rid of that. I will die with that toy in my possession. Are you pulling one out? Oh, he is a
Skippy.
troubled character. Yeah,
yep.
Poor guy.
So Tony, did you...
Skippy?
We were talking about Horcruxes from Harry Potter and what mine would be if I had any. And that's Skippy, the Skippy plush would be one of them.
All right, if I ever need to kill all pieces of you left on Earth, I'll come for your Skippy doll before I get you. You're hollow.
On my Bing Bomiter, I would. So this is a weird catch one. The first time I watched it, not at all. I was fine. I was like, oh, I like this. This is sweet.
Yeah.
Then I watched it with my girlfriend, who, I'm not going to spill her business, is a parallel in terms of the relationship with the mother. And I watched it with her, and I could see how like triggered and like relatable it was for her. And that made me well up. I welled up that time. So therefore I would put it around The Good Dinosaur, which is where I landed on my scale, where it's just kind of like, wipe. But
yeah. Good Dinosaur didn't make me cry. I was just grateful the credits started to roll.
It was the part when it was 2 parts. More so the goodbye part again.
When he gets rid of
draw
his
the circle.
Dog boy.
Yeah. When they draw the family circle and he pushes him out of it. It's like, oh, that's sad.
And when he hallucinates his dad. Is that the other part?
Oh yeah. Well,
a Lion King lift moment.
Yes.
Then
by that logic, it's a Hamlet lift.
Hamlet lift movie, the Bambi lift moment. The Pixar film that changed my mind, where I didn't like it at first. Not that you didn't like it, Turning Red, but where I did a 180 on my opinion of it, was Brave. I saw it in theaters with Benji, and we were both like, eh. And then I watched it in a living room with my mom, and then I was like, Like just like the presence of my mom being there with me, and we don't fight very often, but we had recently had a fight, so like having Brave at that moment with my mom present was just a completely different experience.
Yeah, I haven't watched Brave. I watched Brave with my sister, but not with my mom.
Yeah, watch Brave with
Yeah,
your mom after a fight, and you will love Brave.
I finally sat down and watched Brave start to finish, and I was okay.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I'm
no,
going for a
that's
mother tale, it's going to go Turning Red now.
Yes, I agree.
yeah. Turning Red is the superior mother daughter movie, but
yeah, I agree.
Brave's not bad, in my opinion.
Hidden things. Did you spot any,
Easter
Alex?
egg.
Yep.
I spotted some, but I will say, like, I spotted more in this art book. Like, I know you pointed out that there's a bunch of A113s, and
There's
like the
two
one
that I'm aware of. There's two.
and in the art book it shows another one where, you know, like how in the stadium they have the little like breezeways that you enter in through and then turn around and go up. One of those is marked A113
Okay.
in the concept art. But I had a lot more fun moments with the concept art in the book, because you can, you know, go through it a little more, and there are licensed things that they couldn't do in the film. So like, you know, I pointed out
Art of Turning Red book.
Oh,
got it.
And
I would
part
anyway.
of the fun of this, yeah, part of the fun of this book is it has a recreation of her little sketchbook in the middle of it.
Oh, nice.
Her boy, and then the back of it has that burrow Easter egg.
Burrow bunny.
The burrow bunny.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. The burrow bunny is in the movie. So some of those, I mean, the art of book, I'm not getting any commission
I've got it here.
off of hyping this up for you. But yeah, like you can find Pokemon, you can find obvious Sailor Moon, Sanrio. You know, obviously in the movie they had their like not Tamagotchi or not Gigapet, but clearly part of that. You know, and one of the jokes in the film that cracks me up the hardest is the Aaron T, Aaron Z.
Aaron T and Aaron Z.
Aaron T and Aaron Z.
And I'm sure they're both musically talented too.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a Spice Girls lift, because there was Mel B and Mel C. Like I can't think of a boy band.
We said it was Joey and Chris from NSYNC. Sorry, guys.
Oh, okay. Because they were different names. Like none of, in my recollection, none of the boy bands had the same first name. But like Aaron Carter was, you know, the Aaron Carter and Justin Timberlake were like the two names where everyone knew them. It didn't matter if you knew the bands or not. And so I took it to be like Mel B and Mel C, but playing with Aaron Carter's recognizability.
But isn't Aaron the younger brother? It's Nick Carter, right?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Aaron's party. Aaron's the one who beat Shaq. And then he dated Paris Hilton.
And he promised, and then he's got some song called "Oh Aaron," where he promises all these girls tickets to the show because his brother's in Backstreet Boys, and they're like, "Oh, we can get you like a dozen tickets." And he's like, "How many do you need?
Oh,
3,000?"
Yeah. Yes. Wow. It's all coming back to me. I forgot that. Yeah, I mixed up.
Sorry, that's like the only thing I actually know. So
I mixed up my Carter brothers and which one has an OnlyFans and which one doesn't.
Oh gosh, I was just gonna say I thought it was funny too, in a weird humor way, that Tyler was favored to one of the Aarons, like yes. I got nothing going for him kind of guy.
Oh, this is one of my favorite pieces of concept art, just in its like naughty teenage girlness. Just like the more you examine it, and like the way she draws abs like a Goku, like a Dragon Ball Z character, you know, where it's just like a little washboard.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing more now that I'm looking. Yes,
it's just the more you examine it, the funnier this one gets, of her like her under the bed, and you know what she's revealing about herself that she can't show her mom. Like I love that she's like laying on one of them.
Okay, I gotta close it.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, we'll go back to the notebook for a second. Hold on, I'll pull this back up here. You can see the Burrow Bunny right there on the back cover.
And the Sanrio characters are behind Mei's head. That's like
the ones you were talking about? Yeah,
not
up on the shelf?
Not Karopi, not Gatsmaru, but clearly meant to represent them, right? And the lamp in this shot too, I questioned if it was in, I mean, it's definitely not Bo Peep's lamp, but the shade.
It's similar to it.
I guess maybe it's just because they're pink and I'm stupid.
But
I don't know.
I was going to ask you, Alex, because you've watched probably as many Pixar documentaries on Disney Plus as I have. How many times have you spotted Domi and Maddie Sharafi and the director of Burrow together throughout those?
I guess I hadn't put that together. I don't.
Yep.
I didn't recognize them. And in the I was going to bring up the Turning Red documentary.
Okay.
I don't know if you've both watched it.
I've watched it. Have you, Becca?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That one really struck me as very interesting because it was just so much more personal.
Yes.
To the filmmakers.
Yep.
And particularly kind of the 4 women leading various aspects of this
and it
project.
Wasn't like, here's how we program the fur rig or anything like
that.
It
was not.
It was not. We're gonna
really
go
technical.
home and meet my kid.
Right. It was much more of a personal story, which I really enjoyed. I thought it gave it a much different flavor because I went into it expecting, our biggest technical challenge was getting May to poof and have this magic dust quality that Domi wanted. That's what I was expecting out of it, and it really made me excited for the future of what Domi Shi does next.
Yes.
Just because I mentioned before, tonally, Bao and Turning Red have a lot in common, and Turning Red is executed very differently.
Yep.
But I'm really curious to see what her next move is at Pixar. And she's on the what do they call it? The creative board or whatever. Like she's in the Pixar
Story Trust.
The Story Trust. Like at the end of the end credits, when it's like thanks to the Story Trust. She's one of the few like more recent names from the studio that pops up in there.
Well, I know she was Story on Coco also. That might have been her first.
Okay.
I think it was. I think she came in as a story artist on Coco, and then that's why you pointed out that Easter egg that I definitely wouldn't have caught of that
the scapula.
T-shirt.
Yep.
The scapula.
The scapula.
That was cool.
Yeah, there are 2 more that I've since heard of that I've seen grabs from, but I haven't spotted them in the movie yet. And that's there's a Kevin skeleton in the science room, and then the crystal from Onward that allows the dad to come back.
Oh wow!
Is in the science room. So I'm like, okay,
there's
I need to watch
only
it again.
A few of those.
Time number 5. Yeah, there's only so many of those.
There's only so many
Infinity
of those.
Stones until Loki
I think there was
came
just
out.
one.
I know
left.
some Marvel. I had other thoughts on it. Did the Bing Bomiter, talked about Easter eggs. A113. I'm upset I missed the more obvious one and saw the end credits one first. Because there's one in the end credits. It's the stadium ticket for the Four Town concert, which also has the original date. So it could be the Toledo ticket, not the Toronto ticket. Or Toronto.
Oh, interesting.
Toronto.
Because it's it's April 18th.
Well, one little random thing going off topic, or not off topic, but I thought it was interesting that the girls were actually able to buy tickets at the box office, because I'm like everything's so online now. Like you wouldn't be able to show up at the concert and be like, can I get a ticket? So I thought that was kind of fun.
And last week's episode of John Oliver was all about like how evil Ticketmaster has become with all their fees. But yeah, no, I remember for us, I mean, in our hometown, the ticket office was in our JCPenney. Like it was like next to customer service. So you would go and line up outside of JCPenney before they opened to make sure you got your Oops, I Did It Again tour tickets, which is the thing I did.
I want to go back and watch the whole thing and be like, all right, everybody, let's play. Every time he mentions a new tour name, it was the first time she came to Milwaukee. I had to be there. The next tour, the Dream Within a Dream tour, only came to Chicago. All right.
Bit of a drive.
We'll get violently off topic. Name Backstreet Boys tours.
Like I only know the Millennium Tour.
Okay.
So I don't know what their first tour was. I got into Backstreet Boys because the ending of Britney's first album was like, "Hi, I'm Britney, and I'm on Jive Records, and you should listen to my friends, the Backstreet Boys, who have a new album coming out." And they played like clips of songs from it, and so I was like, "Oh, Britney says buy Backstreet Boys," so I went out and bought Backstreet Boys. And then Britney was the opening act for NSYNC, so I got into NSYNC. So, and then Britney took a photo backstage with 98 Degrees, and I got into 98 Degrees. Or more than likely with 98 Degrees, Disney Channel started doing those concert specials.
Yep, I remember those.
And I was into every single act. I was super into BB Mac, M to M, Bewitched, Five, Joey McIntyre,
When the Lights Go Out.
Koku. Like,
I still listen to the Fives When the Lights Go Out frequently.
Baby, when the lights go out. And
apparently my friend heard the melody in one of the Four Town songs. He was like, I'm pretty sure I heard Five in there.
A lyric in that, I didn't know what the word succumb meant. But like one of the lyrics in When the Lights Go Out is succumb to me.
You will succumb to me, yeah.
You will succumb to me. And I thought that sounded so dirty. And I felt like I needed to listen to it in private. There was
it still
a Mandy
does.
Moore
it does.
Song. It still does. It still does. There was a Mandy Moore song too called Candy has some really suggestive lyrics. So does like that whole album is just full of like entendres that a 13-year-old girl should not have been singing about. But her second real album, because then she did an EP and then another album, had a song called Saturate Me that I remember not feeling like it was dirty. And then my older brother telling me why he thought it was dirty. But I loved that song. But yeah, any of those acts I was obsessed with, and like went right out to Sam Goody or Best Buy and got the CD of whatever they were promoting on Disney Channel. Pre-Radio Disney.
Who was at Hollywood? Well, then MGM Studios. Was that NSYNC?
They had a bunch of them. NSYNC did too.
In front of the theater.
They did. In front of the theater was NSYNC's first one, and
that was the one like that's credited with like putting them on the map, right?
There was first one was at Epcot.
Like, okay.
Their first one was at Epcot, and then their Christmas one was at Hollywood Studios. And yes, it did catapult them up like a huge notch, having that exposure on Disney Channel. And then all the little boppers like me went out and bought the NSYNC CD. I got into NSYNC on CD 1, but I got into Backstreet Boys on CD 2, on album 2.
Real quick, I'll ask for some final thoughts after I say this. Fan theories. The astral realm in Turning Red and Soul are acquired or accessed the same way. Do you think that's going to start spurring some tweets? If people caught on to that?
I've already seen it. I've already seen people saying it. And I just thought of, astral plane aren't words that you hear very often. So I, as soon as they said it, thought of Soul. Like that's what I associate the phrase astral plane with. But the execution of them were so different visually. It didn't look anything like the astral plane from Soul. So I always am thinking about the Pixar theory and how they're all hashtag connected. And knowing that the crystal from Onward is in there somehow makes me wonder, does Onward take place well in the future like Cars, or was it way in the past? Or Good Dinosaur also, I think, in the Pixar theory must be in a like post Cars future. I think I had read once. Like all the cars have become fossils, if that's a thing. Or rusted.
I remember I skimmed it and I was like,
they're really out there. Yeah, they're really out there sometimes. But I feel like Pixar, well, I know Pixar knows about these theories and likes to play with them. So I can totally see them when they decided there was going to be this like ethereal place that they go to, and someone being like, we should call it the astral plane because they use that in Soul.
And then because Moonwind draws the circle around them, and that's the only way to connect to the human world. And then here they are in the human world drawing a circle to connect to the astral realm.
But I will also say, like in
Mr. Gao's one of my favorites in the movie, by the way.
Yeah, in anything to do with like magic or the occult, like because of my obsession with Hocus Pocus, once bought from the New Age section at Barnes and Noble without my parents knowing, because I thought this was so like anti-Christian. Bought like a Wiccan book, and it was like, by chalk, draw a circle and a pentagram. Like, and so like to me, like just drawing a circle is synonymous with like alleged real world magic. Not that I'm sorry if anyone's out there is Wiccan and I'm offending you. I don't believe in it. But that's often the thing. Like draw a circle.
Yeah, they do that in Buffy all the time.
They do it in Buffy. When you do in a Ouija board, it's in the instructions. Draw a circle around
Morgan
you.
watches Supernatural, and it's always salt in a circle around you or in the doorways.
They do a circle of salt in Hocus Pocus. So, all of those things. It's like drawing a circle is like step one in any story of like magic. So I wouldn't necessarily equate the circle directly with soul, but the phrase astral plane.
The fact that they've mentioned that though is the ticker.
Yeah.
Final thoughts. Turning Red.
Go watch it if you haven't.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully this wasn't your first introduction to it. I love the film. Super proud of Pixar for making it. I'm saddened that there's any controversy around it because it all feels unnecessary. But I think it's the kind of thing where, had the internet been around in 1955, there would have been the same fervor around Lady and the Tramp for having a similar blink and you miss it. And if you're a kid, you don't think about it moment. And because it's 60 some years old now, everyone who's an adult who was introduced to it as a kid doesn't know that there were parents who complained about the fact that Lady and Tramp spent the night together in a park and just a few moments later she is pregnant. Like so I think people are making more of a to-do about the mom thinking her daughter has had her first blossoming of the peony than anything else. Something that kids won't.
I loved the way. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go off again. Ming was animated and just in general.
Yeah.
But in that scene, moment, like just very like, and she's like that. And she's biting her lip, and she's like crouching, and her eyes are narrow and
we didn't talk about it much, but the animation itself is very different in Turning Red, and they talked about this during the long lead of trying to capture the way animes are animated, where it's much more jerky. It's not, the 64 frames. Is 64 frames per second?
Traditional American's 24.
24. So it's not 24. It's like less than to do it faster. So like they do those moments where like characters are almost like stop motion in their movements. And I thought it was so fun and added a lot of character and flavor to the film.
Ming, the one thing that stood out to me, I was just like, whoa, was she at a certain point, she's like dusting off her jacket, her blazer. And most, I would say you would just see like brush, like something like that, just like the waving of the arms, but it was straight, like fingers bent, very precise, precision, just very poignant. And I was just like,
I'm absolutely not groping myself. I am just.
I just thought that was fantastic because again, somebody goes through and instead of just going arms up, down, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it was bend the fingers, extend, like.
Well, and in the documentary too, I mean, one of the things the documentary doesn't have is necessarily interviews with like much of the voice cast, but they talk about Sandra Oh's mannerisms at the recording booth, impacting those kinds of character choices. And Sandra Oh in the press conference with the voice cast talked a lot about her relationship with her mother and her own feelings of being different and wanting to be an actress, which was not a doctor, not a dentist, not the things they brought her here to do, those kinds of things. So I think she talked a little bit about channeling her own mother into the character of Ming, which I know the voice actor often gets all the credit and the animators do all the visual work that you get, but sometimes there are those character moments that come out of the recording booth and the mannerisms of the persona behind that voice, which I think that's one of those moments where it was very much a collaboration unintentionally on Sandra Oh's part that inspired a character moment.
Yeah.
Well, Turning Red, Disney Plus, now streaming.
Bravo. Oscar nominated next time.
Yes, next year. I wouldn't say just missed the cutoff, but
it missed it by like 2 months and some change.
It's probably another conversation for another day. I'm curious to see what wins this year because I can't call it this year.
Yeah.
Nominees, and even internally at Disney, there's a lot of competition amongst itself. So they did not need Turning Red in there.
I think only one of the Disney films is actually a true contender for the prize. So
yeah,
but
at the Annies, I will say at the Annies, Mitchell versus the Machines swept everything it was nominated in.
Really shook things up.
Yep. And then for independent film, it was Flea, which is also nominated. So
that's what Entertainment Weekly. And Entertainment Weekly thinks that it's going to be
Obi-Wan.
That it's going to be Flea.
That it's going to be Flea. Okay. And Entertainment Weekly, I think you might have one of the last physical issues.
Yep.
It's the last one.
I love that magazine. But yeah, they are always pretty right on the money. Like I have actually entered. I don't bet on sports, but I've bet on Oscars before, and I have copied and pasted the Entertainment Weekly list and come out ahead. But yeah, I saw Flea at Sundance last year in 2021, and loved that film. I was shocked that it's in the Best Animated category and Best Documentary category, and I think that's the one the Academy is going to go for. Would you stop it? And, and so I think that's the one that's going to take the statue. But it Focus Features, which is a streaming rights deal with Hulu. So I'm still going to count it as somewhat beating around the bush Disney in that way, even though it got acquired.
We'll have to follow up after the Oscars and see what was up.
Yeah.
Until then, next time you'll probably see me at Laughing Place Movie Club will be Lightyear in June. Yeah, June.
Yeah.
You think you won't be on a Laughing Place Movie Club until June? There's Ice Age shorts to be discussed.
Oh, Scratch Shorts. Sand Sculpture now at Animal Kingdom. By the way, I forgot about the Scratch Shorts. Well, if they're anything like Buck Wild, that movie club will be talking about the weather today or stuff like that. All right.
Sorry, you said Buck Wild and my brain went numb.
For our thoughts on Nice Adventures of Buck Wild, feel free to check that out on Laughing Place YouTube. Also coming up later today, something about Star Wars during Disney Parks Talk Live, and the Star
I believe
Cruiser
that
experience.
Quite a character got to go.
I'm going to say it wrong. I'm sorry. Lodico Fendon, or is it Lodico? Lodico?
I think it's
Zip into the
Lodico.
Okay. So that's the Princess and the Frog deep cut for anyone who had the Princess and the Frog inspired album. Not the soundtrack. One of Ray's hits.
I thought you were also doing the parade music from Universal's Mardi Gras Parade.
Oh, they probably also do that. But yeah, no, Ray sings "Zip into the Zydeco" on an album that also includes more music from Lewis and Tiana and all the characters.
Maybe one day we'll get that ride featuring that music.
Maybe it's coming. To Critter Country, guys, of all places.
Remember to like, subscribe, ring that bell, get notified whenever we go live with great movie club content or stuff like Parks Talk Later or Live Park Walk and Talks, all the fun. Ring that bell, like, subscribe. So long, everybody.
Don't forget Barely Necessities.
Yeah.
Barely Necessities. I was looking at today's calendar. Yes. Becca will be back tomorrow for Barely Necessities, the live Disney merchandise show, which you'll have more details about, hopefully tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.